Hello, hello, hello. How are y'all doing today? You know your name? You know what day it is? You know how cold it is outside? I tell you, it's cold all over the United States, I do believe. My goodness. It seems like all the YouTubers I watch today are talking about the cold weather that they're having in their area. Either snow, low temperatures, even down the Gulf. I've got some pictures here that Gigi sent when she was on the beach. A little bit of the beach without freezing to death. But yes, it's 41 degrees here this morning, and the puppies have been out, and I've just got my first cup of coffee and ready to do that, and I hadn't put my lipstick on. You know, that is the first thing I do every morning. I do. I put on my lipstick. And I feel just almost naked without lipstick on. And I don't know. It's not that I see myself in the make lipstick. It's just knowing it's there and I can feel it on my mouth. And it gives me a spot of color. And color is always good for your morale, and also if makes you feel better. You know, some people won't even leave the house or won't even show their face until they've got their complete makeup on. I had a neighbor next door, Vida. She was 86, I think, and she didn't weigh 100 pounds. Little old bitty thing. But she always wore her heels, little tiny dresses, sequin clothes, lots of jewelry. I mean, she always looked like she was coming from New York City, and she'd just be going to go out to eat at one of the cafeterias in town. She'd always dress up. I mean, just, and she was a pianist. She used to be, and I've heard her, oh my gosh, she could play a piano. Little bitty woman, always has been. She married a general back during World War II, and she was singing for the USO. Well, no, was it USO? Yeah, I think so. And he was here at Camp Robinson station. Well, I guess he was the general here, or whatever that high-ranking person is. I think it's a general. Yeah. Anyway, uh, and she was playing one of the local theaters on the piano and stuff, and he told her, said, "I'm going to marry you," and she said, like, there were so many soldiers here during World War II, because they had a lot of training going on here at the camp. So she got a lot of people flirting with her. And first time I met her, I was out in the yard at my house. We just moved in this house. And I was out there sitting on the ground, digging in the dirt. I was putting out juca all around the azaleas we had to put in on the front of the house, for our landscaping. So I was out there doing that, and this beautiful woman come out of the house next door. I'd never seen her. We had only been there about a month, but I had never seen her. But she came out, and she had a matching purse and bags and glittered clothes, and she was not gaudy. She was gorgeous. I mean, gorgeous. And her hair was coal black. She had steel blue eyes and mascara that was black. And her face, and she's so tiny. She was absolutely stunning. stunning. Of course, she was old, but I mean, the way she looked and dressed and sweet, sweet woman. And so she just said something to me that I don't know. I was so blown away with the way she looked and the way I felt at the introduction because I had mud everywhere all over me. And so the next time I saw her, she was in another outfit. You know, she was going out to lunch. So every day, Vida went out to lunch. She would go to one of the cafeterias and dress to the hilts. I mean, fashion plate. She bought all her clothes at the most fashionable stores in the city. There, you know, in Little Rock. Dillard's and, you know, it's something like an Neiman Marcus for us Arkansas at that time. Because this was back in the 80s. The year 1980s. But anyway, but one day she come up. She was in her house, and she'd just come home from, you know, her dinner or lunch, because she would leave like at 11 in the morning. She'd get dressed up at 11 o'clock. She would get ready and go to the cafeteria. Well, she'd go shopping if the stores were open at Dillard's, and then she would go and eat at the cafeteria, and she would stay there for 2 or 3 hours eating at the cafeteria, watching people. People know her because she went most cafeterias every day, and everybody knew her at Frankie's or Lou, you know, any of the ones that were around. Beautiful lady. So she had just come home, and I saw her. And so I walked out there because I saw her car as she pulled into the street. And she invited me in to her home. Her home inside was gorgeous. Everything was pink, sort of a pinkish, but a real pretty pink, not you know, not a Gidget pink. I mean, a really, I don't know what color it was, between pink and brown. That's where I'm going. Beautiful leather furniture, big piano, a glass wall that you could see through, patio into the back. And it just hugged you when you walked in. And she was so cheerful, you know, and very, very animated in her eyes. Those still blue eyes, and those dark lashes and dark hair, and her jewelry. I took a picture of her, I don't know, but the picture I took of her when she died, her family used that picture because I had recorded one of her piano pieces she had performed for me. So I recorded it and I put it on on CDs for her. You have to remember this is 80s. And on the case itself, I had taken a picture of her, and that's why I took the picture to put on that case and as her music, you know, and gave it to her for Christmas. Because and you know what's bad? I didn't even save a copy for myself. I could shoot myself. But you know, time goes on and things happen, and anyway. So one day she called me, and she knew I had been diagnosed with cancer and was going through all this stuff, and so she called me, but of course I wasn't able to answer the phone, and my daughter had moved in to take care of me. And she said, "Mama, Vida's called and she's made some soup for you. Can she bring some soup over?" And I said, of course, I'd love to see her. But here she is bringing this Dutch oven full of homemade soup that she had made. And she was wearing her rhinestones, little heels. She walked all the way from her house over to. Well, no, I don't know. I didn't see her come. But she came in. I was very, very sick that day. But I had just calmed down the seizures and stuff. And she come in and gave me a hug. And she says, you know, my best friend is taking care of you. And I said, thank you so much. I thought she was talking about her. She says, no, my best friend and your best friend, Jesus. Just like that. And she says, I love you and I'll take care of you. And God has you in the palm of his hands. And that's where I got my saying from. And she was just a little saint. I mean, she was so tiny and so. I just thought she was wonderful, wonderful. My memories of her are precious. So one time after, I was recuperating, and she says, "I want to take you to the Red Apple Inn over at Heber Springs, which was about an hour and a half away, and go out to eat there at the Red Apple Inn on the lake, because she just loved their coconut cake, and they made it from ground coconut, And she says, I want to take you with me. And I said, I would love to go. And I did. I went with her. We had a luscious time. The town there, Roma, that's potpourri stuff, aromatique, yeah, aromatique, which sold at Dillard's and some of the exclusive stores all over the nation, was made right there at the Heber Springs area. In fact, that's where their manufacturing company was, and it started by two ladies up there back in the day. So anyway, at the Red Apple Inn, all the ladies' bathrooms and everything was all with that smell of aromatique. And there's candles everywhere inside the it is. I'm hoping. I hadn't been there since she died. But we had a luscious, luscious time together. And she'd tell me about all of her great adventures. And so we were leaving, and we were talking, and she was driving down the highway. Of course, it's all two-lane back then. And, well, I think it still is two-lane. And she was driving along, and so when she talks, she would drive slow, slow, slow. The more she talked, the slower she drove. So I tried not to get conversations going, but I talk a lot, so there you go. And all of a sudden, I said, cars were passing us. And I said, Vida, look at all these cars passing us. Wonder if there's something up ahead, something, they're going to, some kind of event or something like that. Because on a two-lane road, there's hardly any traffic coming down from the hills that way. Well, they were passing us. We were going 22 miles an hour. And I really didn't realize. I was just sitting there as a passenger listening to her stories and, just having a pleasant time. We had a nice lunch and everything. And I looked behind us, and there were cars. You could see them coming down from the hills, and they were lined behind us, and they were trying to get around us. Well, in the hills, it's hard to get around, past anybody, because of all the curves coming down the hills, going up the hills. It's just hard. And I said, well, why don't you pull over for a little bit? I said, I don't feel so good. And so she pulled over, and these cars, zoom, 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 they all passed us. Well, the last one, I could see in the distance, the last car in that line was a state trooper. I said, And so I didn't want to say anything to Vida. I wish I had, though. That probably would have been the right thing to do. But she was in a role. She's happy, and we were having a good time. And so she pulls back on the highway about the time the state trooper had slowed down. I think initially he was going to slow down beside us and see if we were having problems or something. Well, she took off about the time he was getting ready to pull off behind us. She took back up on the road, not even seeing him. And so she's just creeping. She's about 22. I'm looking at the little gauge there, and I'm thinking, oh, she's not going very fast. And those people coming down on the hill, they're running 65, 55. And here she is, 22. And if they start coming down, they're not going to be able to stop, because there's no place to go except to hit us. But at that same time, the cops, the state trooper, pulled up behind us. And she says, there's a cop behind us. And I turned around, and the lights are going on the trooper's car. And she says, I don't know why he's following me and put the lights. There must be something ahead. And so we were looking, and she could see, she couldn't see anything. And so she just kept slowing down. But she's down to 15 miles an hour. And I said, Vida, we need to pull over. He's trying to tell us something. Maybe my purse is up on the car. I just come up with anything so that she would pull over. And she did pull over, and so did he. And he got out of the car and walked around to the side there to talk to Vida. And the first thing, she rolled that window down. First thing she said to him, what is your problem? Why are you pulling me over? Except she's very sweet, cute. And he says, do you have a driver's license? And anyway, they went through the routine and everything. She was so upset with him. And I heard about it all the way back home. Here they are, all those people passing us so fast. I don't see him chasing after them. He says I'm driving too slow, too slow, and it's dangerous. Well, the sad thing about all of this is, we hadn't got back on the road after talking to the policeman, the state trooper. We're going down the road, and she's still going 22, 25 miles an hour down this highway, 2-lane highway. And all of a sudden, we see 3 cars down in a ditch, truck, and they had all passed us back there. I remember that little group of people because they were following each other, and they were all, cars were down there. I guess they were still passing, trying to and she says, oh, they must have been going too fast. That's where the state trooper should have been, she said. I said, yeah, I think they were trying to pass people. They were going too slow. She says, well, I don't know. That state trooper seemed to think that. But, and anyway, I don't think I heard the end of that until a couple of weeks later. And all of a sudden, she stopped talking about it, which was okay with me. But I felt so badly for her, because she said, why are you stopping us? Why are you stopping us? Dear Vida, boy, she could play. When she sat and played the piano, even at that age, and as tiny as she was, she could hardly touch the pedals. She could play that piano and sing, and her little butt would just bounce on that little bench, and I could sit there and listen to a concert right there in her living room on her beautiful beige pink leather furniture and her big fluffy shag rug. I know it's this high, and it was also a beige color with pink in it. Her home was really quite beautiful. Really quite beautiful. Very, and it smelled, her whole home smelled like roses. And if you were outside, and you're waiting on the porch for her to open the door, you could smell the roses. When you got in your car, you smell the roses. When she went to church or anywhere you saw her, when she walked by you, she smelled like fresh roses. She was something else. And when she died, it just broke my heart. Broke my heart. But she had been in the hospital a month or so before, and everyone in the neighborhood was concerned because her car had not moved, and she always went to lunch every day. So I had called. So I said, "Well, I'm going to call the police. We're going to have," because I didn't know where her relatives, if she even had relatives. So the police, they broke into her house, and she wasn't there, but her card was. But we were really fearful for her safety, if she was okay or not. And what the whole thing was, because I'd called the hospitals, checked around, the local hospitals, and they said that she wasn't there. Well, I didn't realize that she's a celebrity, and she was there incognito. Incognito. And when she got home and everything was back to normal, I said, "What would you be?" I mean, we didn't know where to send cards. We didn't know how you were. And she says, "I don't want anyone to see me without my makeup." That was her answer. That was her answer. She had the most gorgeous clothes. I mean, things that you would see someone on the stage wear. Long dresses with sequins and boas, and she had a shed out in the back. It was just a metal shed like anybody has in their backyard, that store things in. And it was full of all her costumes. And then I didn't even know she had a basement, but the basement under that house was completely full of all her stuff. Jewelry, matching shoes. She wore a size 4 shoe. 4. And I think her dresses were like 2s or 1s. Very, very small. But when she was dressed, she was stunning. And her personality just came right out of her eyes. That beautiful smile. She's with her best friend Jesus now. Well, I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. She was a blessing in my life, and I want to share her with you. Share her with you, Miss Vida. I'll see you tomorrow. But remember, God has you in the palm of His hand. Pray for Mother Earth, the birds, the bees, the flowers, and the trees, and for each other. Because you never know who you're going to touch today that'll change their lives for the good. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.